Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the latest in our series of miniature masterpieces. Now, if you've been following these videos in order, not the miniatures, all of them, you will know that we just did our survey of Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, the Pastorale. And so I figured that for our miniature, we would do a Pastorale of a different sort. I'm speaking specifically, and this was suggested by one of you folks out there, of the Pastorale from Liszt's Années de Pèlerinage, his Years of Pilgrimage, Book 1, Switzerland. And in that book, there is a lovely little work called Pastorale. It's the third number. It's the shortest number. It's about 1 minute and 37 seconds long, I think, of this excellent performance with Yano Yando on Naxos. Now, the entire book 1 consists of, let's just run it down, shall we? 9 pieces. La Chapelle de Guillaume Tell, the Chapel of William Tell, Au Lac de Wallenstadt, which is the Lake Wallenstadt. The Pastorale that we just mentioned, Au bord d'une source, that's at a spring. And then the Orage, the Storm, the Vallée d'Obermann, the Valley of Obermann, and the Eclogue and Le Mal du Pays, which is homesickness, and finally Les Cloches de Genève, the Bells of Geneva, one of the earliest bell pieces in the piano, and one that surely influenced Rachmaninoff's bell pieces in his Suite for Two Pianos, and Ravel's La Vallée des Cloches, the Valley of the Bells. Lots and lots of bells after Liszt did his bells. Liszt is really a fascinating composer. Now, I know a lot of you have come back at me either agreeing or disagreeing to my classical music's 10 dirtiest secrets, one of which is Liszt is trash. I was kidding. Some of you people have no sense of humor at all. Liszt is not trash. Liszt is fascinating. Liszt is one of the first examples of a major composer who was not a tune writer. He really had problems writing original melodies. His genius was in working with found material. In this sense, he was a composer closer to Charles Ives, for example, or Stravinsky, another one. It was no tunesmith. They took stuff that they found. In Liszt's case, it was almost always tunes by other people, whether they were Hungarian things for the Hungarian Rhapsodies or operatic tunes for his operatic paraphrases or Paganini etudes, or he did all of this stuff. Sometimes, of course, he had no choice. He came up with original tunes. And that was where he sometimes got into trouble, because his original themes are rather elusive, sometimes difficult to memorize, occasionally marvelous. He was capable of doing it once in a while, but when you consider the enormous quantity of music that he produced, the lack of music to original themes by Liszt is really, really striking. You've got basically, the 3 volumes of Années de Pèlerinage, which are all original works. There's the piano sonata. There's a few other things. But the overwhelming majority of his music is based on other material, which he reworked in his own inimitable way, and reworked and reworked, because he was always changing and futzing with things and trying to do stuff that was novel. Really a fascinating composer. And I think that once you understand that, a lot of what some people find difficult to accept from him becomes quite clear. Because the bottom line is, if you are able to write melodies, if you have a real gift of melody, you are almost always going to be more conservative. It's inevitable, because if you have a real gift for writing melodies, you would be a fool not to. And if you do that, we're talking, generally speaking, about tonal melody. However personal it gets, it's going to be tonal melody. And so you're going to be sticking relatively close to normal harmonic processes. And so your music is not going to be radical. But if you don't know how to write melodies, or if you're not good at it, or your music has to be based on other things, such as texture or ostinato or extreme virtuosity, as so much of Liszt is, then you're going to be a radical. because there's nothing tying you down. You're exploring your own gift at making something new out of something old. And that process is likely to be avant-garde, if not revolutionary. And that's what Liszt was. Now, this Pastorale is an interesting case in point because it is obviously a pastorale. It's delicious. It's absolutely delightful minute and a half of music. It's in simple A-B form, basically. And the A section is a little sort of summer breeze kind of melody. The second one is a more folky sort of hurdy-gurdy tune, perhaps something similar also to a Swiss yodeling tune. You don't really know because it's kind of half evoked in that wonderful way that Liszt had of also concealing some of his sources. And so these two things just alternate, and then the thing ends quietly. But it's marvelous. It's absolutely marvelous. It perfectly captures the imagery, the sense of the title, Pastorale, and it does it in a way which is utterly different from what Beethoven does in his Pastoral Symphony. So here it is, Yeno Yando playing Liszt's absolutely marvelous little Pastorale number 3 from the Years of Pilgrimage, Années de Pèlerinage, Book 1, Suisse, Switzerland. There it was, a delightful miniature masterpiece, if ever there was one. And I just think it's very, very interesting because it's so typically Liszt. I mean, go hum the tune. You won't. You can't. You can't really. It doesn't really have a tune. It's a pattern. It's a harmonic process. It's a rhythmic process. It's got all that stuff. But what it doesn't have is a truly obvious, normally shaped singable tune. But Liszt was able to create an incredible body of work out of tunes that he found, and when he didn't find them, out of the fabric of music more generally as he understood it. And that's what makes him a composer of continual fascination and controversy, even to this day. And I do hope that we're going to be doing quite a bit more Liszt, because I really find him to be incredibly intriguing and worth listening to. And not just for this delightful miniature. So keep on listening, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.